Tonight on Connecticut's news station, a dramatic scene in West Hartford today where a person jumped out of a second-floor window to escape a kitchen fire. Details on what happened coming up.
And we're getting a look at the split-second decisions officers in Colchester had to make when they came face-to-face with a man and a shotgun. The body cam video was just released today. We'll also hear what a tenant said about his erratic landlord that night. And on day 6 of protests on the Yale campus, faculty members are speaking out, denouncing what they're calling widespread anti-Semitism displayed by students. The incidents they're citing in the ultimatum given the president of Yale.
Now at 10, this is Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
And we begin tonight with a chaotic scene in West Hartford where a person was forced to jump out of a second-floor window to escape a kitchen fire. Thanks for joining us for the Fox 61 News at 10. I'm Brent Harden.
And I'm Sarah Sanchez. That person lived at the home on Elmhurst Street that went up in flames this afternoon.
West Hartford fire officials tell us a neighbor who saw the person jump was actually the first to alert them that a fire had started. Firefighters were on the scene by 4:30 p.m. and when they arrived, they found the person who jumped. That person was taken to the hospital with minor injuries. The fire itself was knocked down within 5 minutes of crews arriving on the scene. The person who jumped was the only one at home at the time. Officials say the house is now uninhabitable due to damage from the fire, and they are still investigating how it started.
In Middletown, Wesleyan University was put under shelter-in-place lockdown after a shooting near campus. This happened around 2:30 this afternoon on Pearl and Court Streets. Police say one arrest has been made and no one was hurt. Officers tell us the two people involved in that shooting knew each other. That shelter-in-place order has since been lifted. The school released a statement clarifying the shooting did not take place on campus.
All right, turning to the weather now, and we are in for another cold morning, chilliest one in quite a while.
Yeah, but temperatures are climbing as we close out the week and look towards next week. Here's Chief Meteorologist Rachel Frank with a look at the forecast. Hi, Rachel.
It's a cold night ahead. We've got a freeze warning that is in effect with temperatures that'll drop back into the upper 20s to low 30s. It is not in effect for the shoreline, where we do not anticipate temperatures dropping close to freezing or at least below freezing. And even though Litchfield County is not included, temperatures will be just as cold there here as the rest of the state. It's just too early in the season for the National Weather Service to issue those kinds of alerts in that part of the state. Right now, though, it's not too bad. Temperatures are in the 50s for most of Connecticut, 40s in northwestern Connecticut. And the reason why temperatures haven't tumbled too far is actually because of the winds. Once these winds start to diminish, those temperatures will have an easier time dropping. It kind of doesn't seem to make sense in your head, right? Because winds actually make it feel cooler. But we need the winds to go calm in order for those temperatures to really drop like a rock. Still, it's breezy out there, gusts 20, 25 miles an hour. And we're looking at overnight lows that will be near 30 degrees as we head towards daybreak tomorrow. So a cold, clear start to the day tomorrow. Heading through the afternoon, lots of sunshine and a nice rebound with temperatures returning to the 50s. And then another cold night tomorrow night. We'll talk about when those temperatures rebound. Full forecast coming up.
All right, Rachel, thank you. Well, new body camera video released today showing the moment an officer shot and killed a man in Colchester last Thursday. Police went to the home on Norwich Avenue after a dispute with the landlord, 33-year-old Jared Billard, and his second-floor tenant. That tenant told police Billard was acting erratically and displaying knives. Police found Billard in his basement apartment and started talking to him, but moments later, police heard Billard rack the slide of a pump-action shotgun and say he then came out of the apartment and pointed the shotgun toward Officer Karulis Wasef, who then shot and killed Billard. The investigation into that deadly shooting continues.
A recent Derby mayoral candidate's going to jail for 10 days for storming the Capitol on January 6th. Gino Giovani pleaded guilty. He was captured on video forcing his way inside the Capitol and trying to enter rooms where members of Congress were hiding. Giovani has also been sentenced to a year of probation and 50 hours of community service.
Well, tonight an update on a story we first spotlighted earlier this week. The residents of Job's Pond in Portland are growing more desperate by the day as they watch their homes get washed away by water. But now federal, state and local officials have seen the problem firsthand and are promising their collective commitment to save the properties. Fox 61's Matt Caron tells us who is stepping up to the plate.
It's been 24 hours since we last introduced you to Job's Pond, and you might remember this image. We got a little closer. It's a pavilion where now only the roof is above water, a visual representation of this worsening crisis that residents say needs to be declared a state of emergency.
It's heartbreaking, to see it like this.
Ellen Mantle and her 89-year young mother, Evelyn,
There's probably 40 sandbags on the water side.
invited us inside their multi-generational family cottage on Job's Pond in Portland as they confront the very real possibility of relocation.
Finding some other place to stay. Hopefully, we can locate some places. My brother is already making space at his house in Cromwell for my mom in the event that, she has to move out.
Ellen then brought us next door.
My poor house here. I've spent the last 2 years working on this cottage.
The home she planned to renovate to live next to Mom, besieged by water.
As you can see right now, I've got my oil tank, my hot water heater, my mother's freezer, and my heat pump sitting upstairs.
Descending downstairs,
It's a little bit of a tight squeeze.
the damage got worse.
I've got a flotilla of sandbags right now. The water is up to the windows. You can see it outside. At this point, I'm holding my breath that my furnace doesn't float away. We've tried to encapsulate it in rubber.
Hours later came what they hope is a literal lifeline.
We're going to explore whatever resources are available.
Senator Blumenthal, joined by state and local officials, surveyed the situation.
Is your septic system now flooded?
Well, yeah.
Committing to communication.
I can tell you I'm going to personally call Ned Lamont as we leave here.
But already living on borrowed time, the residents say the time for talk is over. Immediate resources. They need a fix, short term, pumping water over a mile into the Connecticut River.
Our time frame is 2 weeks on that to get the request to headquarters. I have a flame under them.
And long term.
I know the residents don't want to hear this, but we have a program where we can, homes that are flooded repeatedly, we can buy people out of their home, demolish it, and restore it to another use.
Morgart told Fox 61 ultimately they are hoping to avoid that scenario by possibly installing some sort of underground piping that would prevent this type of catastrophic flooding in the future. At the end of the day, this all comes down to time. What will arrive first, the help or the water? Reporting in Portland, Matt Caron, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Police in Rocky Hill are investigating a smash and grab robbery, this time at a jewelry store that's been hit twice in the past week or so. When Fox 61 arrived at Golden Opportunities Jewelers, workers were boarding up a shattered window right next to the one that was busted in last week. Well, police say when officers responded to the call of a break-in at 3 a.m., they saw the burglars make their getaway, but didn't chase after them. It's not known how much was taken or the value of those items stolen.
Well, new at 10 tonight, officials with Connecticut's Capital Region Council of Governments held an open house today, welcoming community members to view their new offices in downtown Hartford. Councils of Governments act in lieu of county governments in this state. They are public organizations that bring together elected officials from different towns and cities to serve the community as a whole and provide municipal services. Capital Region COG officials say this new space will let representatives from their 38-member towns collaborate more easily.
So much of our work and so much of the last 4 years has been in a virtual format. And it's really wonderful to have an opportunity to bring people together in person. And we think this new space is going to give us more opportunity to do that.
COGs also work closely with lawmakers and organizations like the Department of Transportation to shape policy. Connecticut has 9 different COGs in total.
Turning now to continued trouble with Boeing. Families of the victims of 2 different 737 MAX crashes met with prosecutors from the Department of Justice today. They want the DOJ to criminally prosecute Boeing. Fox's Kevin Cork has the latest on a separate probe into Boeing.
Prosecutors with the Department of Justice meeting with family members of victims of 2 deadly Boeing 737 crashes. The back-to-back crashes in 2018 and 2019. Then launching a probe by the FBI and the DOT. The Justice Department faulting Boeing for how it communicated with the FAA about 737 MAX flight control systems. that later sent the jets into fatal nosedives. Now, 4 months after a fuselage panel on a Boeing 737 MAX ripped off midair, the DOJ is probing a criminal investigation into Boeing.
It is inconceivable to me that 4 months since the Alaska Air door blowout, there's even a question of whether things have changed. I hope the Justice Department reaches that same obvious conclusion.
The families argue Boeing violated a 2021 deal with prosecutors to overhaul its compliance program. Now, the families are urging the Fed to criminally prosecute Boeing.
It seems to us that the Justice Department, unfortunately, continues to be in bed with Boeing.
Their meeting comes as Boeing is midway through a 90-day mandate by the FAA to develop a comprehensive plan to address what the administration calls systemic quality control issues.
That's going to be a very important part of them being able to prove to the FAA's satisfaction that it is acceptable for them to increase their production.
Until Boeing completes its plan, the FAA is only permitting the company to expand its 737 MAX production by a fraction of what it had planned, something the Transportation Secretary acknowledges has negatively impacted some U.S. airlines. In Washington, Kevin Cork, Fox News.